Right, this is one I wanted to do for a bit, but as I have the car out for the first time in a good while, I thought I would do it. This is basically another one in the series of looking at some of my cars, which there are quite a lot of. This is my Lanchester Fourteen Roadrider. I think it's also, there's something else with it as well. It's a 1937 pre-war car, which I think was a sort, I think the coachwork was done by Mulberry's, although I wouldn't quote me on that because the history on it I have isn't exactly comprehensive. The car I bought about, let's see, a year and a half ago now. Yeah, it'd probably be about 2 years ago. It took about a year to restore it. It had been, the history of it has been in storage, or had been in storage with the same company for about 8 to 10 years. It had been in the same family at that point in time. Supposedly it was the car of one of the handmaidens of Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, I think. But that was just some sales blurb I got with it. It's actually working. It has been working for a good 6 to 9 months. There are a few little issues with it, but nothing major. I've just been out in it today to take it to a show. Quite a nice, pleasant run. It's only a local show, but it was still quite pleasant to go. Not exactly the fast car, it's only got 14 horsepower, and I think it can probably do about 40 with some wind behind it, and maybe about 50 going downhill. But of course the roads around here, we're not exactly talking fast anyway. So we've got 3 lights at the front. Those were original. There's been a few upgrades to the various, shall we say, bits in the lights, but I won't say what those are. It can run on a crank. It does have a turnover, but it can run on a crank. So as you can see, there's the crank holder here, and there's the actual crank place in there. You can put it in, which surprisingly I only found today. I don't know if I have the cranking thing for it. Probably do somewhere. This one is not original. That was actually done by the owner, previous owner of the car. He actually fitted a George Rover top to it, but I've left it because it actually is quite nice. The car, as far as I can tell, is original on the paint. It's a nice sort of blue-black colour, royal blue, with some sort of striping in a lighter blue, which I think looks very nice myself. When I got it, the interior was a complete and utter mess. So all of this interior, the blue interior, is all new. The seats, they've been repaired, they've been cleaned. As you can see, there's some repairs here and some repairs here. The actual seats themselves haven't been recolored. They are original leather. They've just been basically cleaned, fed, which reminds me I've got to feed them sometime as well. But the headliner, as you can see, that's all completely new. The leather on the sides is the original, as you can tell by the wear marks. The wood itself is also original, although I think some of it has been retouched up with some polish, although I don't really think that much. As you can see, the carpets, those are sort of all new all the way around. I've done some work, or had some work done to some of these gauges because they haven't worked, but they do now. The only one that doesn't work is the, well, actually I think it probably needs winding up, that's why it's not working, is the clock. It's a sort of wind up one. Right, what else? It does have a roof, not that I've ever opened it, although supposedly you can put it back. Oh, it does work because I had it sort of fixed, because effectively the whole roof had to be replaced. So the headliner is also new. As you can see, it's got 4 seats, carpets on the back of each seats. The dials. You've got a standard set there for basically starting the car. It's got signalators or trafficators, I think they're called. So you've got the controls for that here. It's a pre-selected gearbox, a Wilson pre-selected gearbox, which is actually, once you get used to it, not too bad. Although there is a problem with the second gear going up and down. You have to jiggle it sometimes to get it in, which I've got to put onto the thing to fix sometime. You can wind the window. If you do that, you'll basically pop this one out, or at least pop it forward, although I've been advised only do it if you want to spend a lot of pain and trouble trying to put it back. So I have left that and not done that. Yeah. So nice. No seat belts, obviously, because it's a pre-war car. The seats are fairly comfortable. That one's back at the moment because there's an isolator box under there. The battery's under there, so there's an isolator circuit. It's just come out of storage, so it's if I want to basically stop the battery draining, I just take it off the isolator. Right, what else? I will pop the suicide doors, as they are standardly called. As you can see, fresh carpet, which is nice. The seats are original here. I'm not 100% certain what these are. I think they are cigar lighters, actually, from one memory. I think you pull them out. Either that or ashtrays, primitive ashtrays. There's lots about this car I haven't really played with yet, because I've only driven it a few times, just getting the hang of it. And of course, with the COVID pandemic, it hasn't really been, shall we say, convenient for everyone to go driving around all over the place. As far as when the carpets were being done, I also had to get all of the woodwork done at the same time, because the chassis was okay, but the woodwork, the supporting woodwork, was a complete mess. So all of that had to be replaced with new sets of marine ply. But that should be good for another, hopefully, 50 or 60 years. I mean, she is, I think it's 80 something plus years now. Probably 87, something like that. So she's not exactly a young spring chicken, but she does drive fairly well. I mean, she starts every time. What else? Yep, so this is modern. It was a sort of canvas thing before. God knows what it was, but it was some sort of canvas composite or something. Completely rotten through. So I decided, instead of having instead of having a sort of like for like replacement, I just said, shit, let's put something modern in there, and that will be good for the future, for how many years going forward. So a few little bits and pieces. Obviously the spare wheel here. It doesn't have a back or boot, or whatever you used to call them for these ones. Don't know why this is quite so elaborate. It's probably because it's got some maybe protective gear or something you can add to it. God knows. So you've got the fuel cap. Obviously it's supposed to be leaded, so you have to add unleaded and then a supplement. But it gets pretty reasonable mileage to the gallon. It's not like it drinks it. Doesn't exactly go that fast, so it's not like it drinks it all down. These ones do pop out. They're to do with the cooling vents. The trafficators are here, so basically you turn them on and they'll pop out there. When you lock the car, effectively what you need to do is you need to pop these ones up. There's only one lock on the car, so you have to do it from there, and then lock it on the door here, which is a little bit of a pain, but you get used to it. So as I said, fairly basic controls. You basically put the key in there, turn it, and then that's the starter button there. It does have a crank control as well, but I have no idea if I actually have the crank piece for it. It might be somewhere, but God knows where. Right, what else? What else? It's in fairly good shape, to be honest. I mean, there's not really a lot that needs doing to it now. I've spent enough trying to get it back up to standard, and it runs actually fairly well. Did think that the carburetors needed rebuilding, but actually just cleaned off a lot of soot, and it actually works fairly well now. And apparently it's a problem with these car engines anyway, as they tend to burn a lot of soot, or they generate a lot of soot onto the points. Right, so I think time to lock. I can find the key where I put them. Where did I put the key? There I put the key. Right. Two keys, almost exactly the same with each other. You're quite certain which one's which. Right, so that one's locked. The engine is accessible under there. You basically plonk those out, but too much hassle to do that. A few little bits and pieces, like I need to get these sort of things sorted out and get this sprayed up a bit. But and again, I think there's a few bits and pieces like dings. There's some dings on the here. Yeah, like here, a few dings that need to come out. That's just me being paranoid rather than anything else. So yeah, as you can see, there's bits and pieces like paintwork that needs doing here. Nothing serious, but it would be nice to get it done and get the time. So that's sort of in the like bits thing ding, thin ding work there. Other than that, she's actually in good piece. She works fairly well. As I say, I've just driven her most of today. Not an issue. She's been working quite happily. Yeah, she's a bit of a nightmare when it comes to reversing. Had an interesting time trying to reverse her out of a car park about 2 hours ago. But other than that, it's quite pleasant to drive. It's a bit like driving a battle tank, really. She's got thin tyres, so it tends to wade a lot. But around these lanes, there's not many cars, so it works quite well. It's not something I would take on the motorway or anything like that, because that would be, well, let's just say, it's not something I'd be comfortable doing. I'm sure other people would, but not something I'd be overly thrilled with doing. Oh yes, you've got a armrest there you can pull down. So it was supposed to be quite a luxury car at the time, if I remember correctly. But okay, so that's my Lanchester LA14 1937 car, or 14 horsepower of it. Pleasant car. Glad I got it. I do like the sort of nice 1930s looks, 1940s looks on cars. A bit of an impulse buy for me. I do have a few other cars from this era, but this was the one that sort of, yeah, I looked at it and I thought, well, I'll buy that one, even though I wasn't really intending to buy it at the time. But yeah, it's a nice car. I don't know how much they're worth. Probably about somewhere between 15 and 21,000, something like that. I've no idea how many there are on the road. Probably not many. So you've got some rarity value there, but since all the records are probably buried somewhere, no one I've spoken to has a really good idea of how many are left. So one number that was sort of total around was about 20 or so, but who knows. I'm sure there's probably let's just say there are none in the local area that I know of. There are none in the club in the local area that I know of. There are some that are being restored further up north, but I have never come across another one like it, although I'm sure they are. I know there was one for sale many years ago, but yeah, a rare car and a very pleasant car to drive. So that's my Lanchester LA14. and thanks very much for watching.